Nick, you have to introduce yourself because I think you have such an amazing background. And also, by the way, Nick is a college professor and he's gonna sharing a lot of his amazing work and his journey. So now the floor is yours, Nick.
Excellent. Hi, everybody. I'm Nick, local adjunct professor here in Monroe County. I work out of MCC as my home base. I've taught for my alum RIT, and I've also taught over at SUNY Geneseo as well. So, being an adjunct, you're not quite in one spot, you're all over the place until one day you do set down roots. But you'll find me pretty much all over the place. So, a little bit about my work. It's crazy. You'll see down here in a second, we're going to get into a current solo exhibition. I called this Two Cents. It is a play on the words because not only is it showing you that I have 2 cents in my pocket, I'm giving you my views of the way I see the world. And my art deals with a lot of trying to defunk and destigmatize certain situations that people just don't want to talk about. Okay. So you'll see that when we start talking about my work.
All right, next page then.
All right. So, um, everybody that knows me, I'm not going to sit here read this word for word, but you guys are welcome to, read that. My sculpture in a nutshell. We talk about human turmoil and the way we all experience it and the object that we all like to pick up. I'm all about found object. I do a lot with metalworking, and now that I've graduated, I don't really have access to a foundry, so I tried to figure out how I can keep my sculpture going. What can I use now? So I do cold casting. I use resins, foams, wax, you name it, I do it, and then I do a process called metal coating, which I can still get that metal look, but it's not metal. And it's half the cost, sometimes three-quarters the cost of what a huge statue would do. Right now, I'm all about body casting and, bringing that into the world of trying to get you to talk about things. So I take the emotion of an individual's psychological breakdown. It creates a common ground for us both to talk, because what do you do when someone brings up a sensitive subject like addiction or a loss of a child or the way your grandparents died due to not having insurance? Maybe you're poor, who knows, but I'm here to talk to you guys about that. And again, I think that's why, as free as I am telling you about me, I want you guys to be able to do it too when you're looking at my work and trying to describe what you're going through in your own life.
Hmm.
So I'm over at the Arts Council for Wyoming County. Great gallery. It was a good opening. I was really excited to see everybody there. Um, I just wanted to give you guys a feeling of what it would be like. It's still going on until January 13th. So if you see if you like what you see tonight, what we're talking about, go ahead and make the trip. It'll be well worth it. All right, so there's a lot of stuff going on. It kind of, my work really hits you in the face, and a lot of good art does that. But it's not just to do the shock and awe; it's really to get you to relate to my work. Okay, um, a lot of people were really taken back, and they went right up to the work. They were taking photos of the work because they just couldn't believe what it was they were seeing. Now, when you see this work, I also wanted to leave a little to imagination if you do make the trip out there. But at the same time, everybody believes all this is made out of metal. It's not. There's a lot of wax, there's a lot of resin, and there's a big 48 by 60 painting that we'll get into in a second. It's a painting, but I cast out of foam. Um,
Um,
yes,
so before we continue, I have a question for you.
absolutely.
Because I know you kind of play around with a lot of like diverse materials. What initially inspires you to become an artist? Like, what was your original medium?
Yeah, I mean, so growing up, we were really, really poor. My mom took care of me and my brother and sister. I never had a dad. So you kind of did art with whatever you had in your hands. And a lot of times it wasn't good quality. Everybody, you had the cool Crayola crayons. I unfortunately had rose art, and that's not a dig to anybody. That's all they can afford. But I really, as I grew up and moved on and matured, I really understood that it's not the material that makes the art,
Mhm.
you're the one that makes the art. So, getting into all these different materials, sometimes it's just me being bored with the normal. I don't want normal. I want to really throw this in there and that to help relate these situations, to you guys. When I cast an object, sometimes it's something that I found on the ground and I'm like, oh, hey, I could use that somewhere down the line. And it's just a relationship that I have with this object now that I'm putting in front of you. And I'm curious to see how you react to that. Because an
Mhm.
apple to me might mean something totally different to
Yeah,
an apple to you.
very interesting. Thank you.
So my show was mixed up again at 2 cents. It's my 2 cents about things, and it's kind of like all of my art to this point. This if someone went in there and bought all this artwork, this is my life's work up to this point. So it was kind of crazy seeing this. This piece right here, a lot of people gathered around. It's been published. It's poured from actual aluminum, and it was my thesis sculpture. So during COVID, we weren't allowed to all meet in one place. If you remember, people were sidelined. We were afraid. We didn't know if we were all going to die. When they finally said we can get back into the studio, it had to be of like smaller groups. So pouring liquid metal, anybody that's gone through those pours, that's really hard to cut back on people because you need to do it as a team. So they asked me, what did I want to accomplish at the end of my time at RIT? And I wanted to be able to make a full statue all the way around. Well, unfortunately, COVID happened and that was no longer a possibility. But just like art, just like not having finances, and sometimes life can just kick you, when you're already down, you got to overcome, you got to adapt. So this piece right here, it's called Dreamer. My wife, when she was growing up, she was premature, so she has degenerative disc disease and she has issues walking with her tendons. One day she might end up in a wheelchair. So I tell you this because this is actually a cast of my daughter. She plays first in a national championship. And, I look over at my wife and she's crying, doing the whole thing. And I'm like, I deal with things by laughing and cracking jokes. So
Mhm.
I was like, come on, Ange, really? You're going to be that mom to cry? And she goes, Nick, I was told I could never dance and I can't dance. So to see my daughter be able to place
Yeah.
first out of all these people, that's what I'm crying at. I always
Yeah.
wanted to dance and now my
Wow.
daughter's doing it. So in foot in mouth, I was like, oh, I'm sorry. But again, that's one of those things where let me keep it up here. Took out my handy dandy sketchbook and I'm like, that's what I want to bring to life. So the
Mm.
fact I know you can't really see this from this image, but she's kind of like torn apart, but she's laying in like a field of daisies off dreaming. We have these dreams where you don't quite remember certain parts. They're not really tethered together. There's a static. They're close, but not the same. This is what I did. And I tore it apart. It eventually is like 7 foot by like 5 foot. So it really demands a nice space. And a lot of people relate to that because, she may be daydreaming, but also could be a nightmare. It's hard to say, it's hard to have people talk to you and tell you you can't do something. So again, that's what really struck me here, and I wanted to bring that all towards you because I know we've all, at one point or another, whether it's us saying no or someone else telling us no, we've had it happen to us. So I thought this was a good segue to bring four people to enjoy, and so far, so good.
Yeah, it's really emotional. Like hearing about the story, it's like I understand why she cried because the daughter is achieving something that she could never probably imagine dreaming of. So it's really emotional. It's special. Yeah.
Yes. And like we have good smiles right now, and that's what it should be. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I not many people want to come out and say I can't. or I was told no, or I was born this way.
Mm.
So the fact that we could talk and we can have good feelings on something that obviously is so hard on my wife even to this day, that to me is the power of the art, not the metal, but that right there, the concept. All right, so we'll be getting into this one. It's the big 48 by 60 canvas behind it. It's called Benefits Who, and then this starts talking about Snap and what's been going on in the United States as a whole. But there's a little sculpture in front of it. It was a cast face of Trump, put it on top of American Eagle's head, kind of like soldered that thing together, and I spray painted it all red. And the red color, it's because of Tylenol. He had such an issue pronouncing it and made such a big deal about the medicine and what it may or may not do to us. Again, it's not really a good picture to see there at the bottom of that, but I actually lined it with Tylenol before I coated it and spray painted it and clear coated it again. I picked that red because if you take a Tylenol, it's white with a little red white writing on it. That's why that's the color of that is.
Hmm. But why Trump's head on the eagle? On the eagle, I'm assuming.
Well, yes, it's on an eagle, and so far right now, I feel, along with many others, I think Trump kind of uses the United States as his playground, and what's up here goes for everybody else. So I replaced his head onto the bald eagle, which is a symbolism for the United States, well, at least in my eyes. And I kind of have it like he's off this, looking into the distance, all superior, sitting on a mound of Tylenol.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very serious, but at the same time, it's almost obnoxious and funny to think that his points of view are all of our points of view when it comes to being looked at as a whole. So I wanted to bring that forward and kind of peg him down a little bit, in the art world.
Mhm. You're definitely making a statement.
Thank you. All right, so I wanted to try to give you guys a little bit. You saw the right side of the gallery. You'll see off in the front, that's where my TV. I do a lot in blacklight responsive paint now and UV resin and everything. It's good stuff. But over here on this side, this is a lot of my metals mixed in with my cast wax pieces. When you look at this, you can't really tell which material is what. And to me, that's what was really exciting with some of these pieces here. Again, this is that right side, but a little bit back so everybody can see and get a little bit of a feel. As you'll see in that bottom right corner, that's a brand new piece. It's the cost of being poor. It's me, cast myself. It's a Joann Fabric shopping cart, and as you may know, they just went bankrupt. And what was Joann Fabrics? Arts and crafts, right? Well, I don't know how many times you or anybody else that has a fine arts degree has been told you're a joke and you picked the wrong degree. Who are you to waste your time and money? You deserve to work at Starbucks, which a lot of my friends work there. I think that's a really bold and nasty statement to begin with. Um, but that's the feeling for a lot of people when you say, "Oh, I got an MFA. What are you doing? Why would you do that?" So I wanted to bring this to light. I painted myself yellow like a Lego, interchangeable parts, because I'm an adjunct professor. Adjuncts, they kind of piece you here, piece you there for the needs of what they need. And that's about it. If they don't need you anymore, they throw you away. You got to go find somewhere else. There's not really anywhere until you get tenured, right? So that was another thing where with this rope, I'm tied to this massive debt. There's a piece that's hanging on the wall. You can kind of see it over there. That's actually my Nelnet bill. And since I graduated with my MFA in 21, I'm up to $148,000 in debt. So again, people telling me, well, you're dumb for going and getting a fine arts degree. I'm happy where I'm at. Being with my students, talking to them, helping them achieve what they need to achieve is why I'm doing it. I was a grunt worker. I used to carry ammunition in a field, packaging up at an airport. You name it, I did it. I used to lay flooring. You get older, you can't do that anymore. But then you move on and you try to get a job in a cubicle, you're unhappy. I was actually getting sick. My mental health wasn't good. And let me let you on a little secret. It wasn't paying the bills either. So I went to school to better myself. And even though I did that, and everybody should look at me like, that's respectful, man. Good for you. I keep getting told how stupid I am.
Mm.
So again, that's why I did this with like bags of garbage. That's actually my master's degree robe, my cap and gown. Um, it's pretty striking because it's true to size. I'm a bigger guy, and I'm hanging out of this cart. So yeah, again, the cost of being poor. I am poor, but I'm here.
Hmm. Wow, what a powerful story.
Thank you. Set up before the show. I mean, for any of you out there, including my students or friends or colleagues or just fellow artists, you got to set yourself up. So I included a couple shots, kind of getting ready for the big football game, doing my labels, going through final adjustments. And again, you need a good partner in crime. That's my $0 an hour associate, Angela Veely, my wife, helping me get my labels in order, getting everything put up, making sure prices are good, everything's set, pedestals are in place. Yeah, it's exciting.
Wow, I can tell.
um, so I actually had a student of mine help take some of these shots, which was great. I really wasn't even paying attention when they were um, taking these photos of me. His name was Blind. Um, I don't know, just looking at it, just making sure when you look at my art, if you buy a piece of my work, everything is the way it is for a reason. You see all those wrappers around the base? I wanted them there. Do you see how I had the needles sticking out of that arm? I wanted them there. The rope on the ground all over with chaos. That's how I envisioned it. So as I'm going through each piece, yes, I went through every single piece. I want to say there was a good 30 different sculptures there around that. And I made sure the way they were being presented is exactly how I wanted you to see them. So he took some photos and shots of me really taking the time with my piece, going through each one and moving on to the next.
It's very weirdly uncomfortable because it's sticking out. But that's kind of what you're trying, like you're talking about before, like you're making this like statement or like a very like emotional and mental kind of. But it's how to say it's definitely very like out there, and I like
Yeah.
it because you're making that statement. But it definitely
Well,
makes me a little bit uncomfortable for sure.
and yes, you're right. I want you to be uncomfortable because here we are talking about things with each other. You and I don't really know each other personally, but you're getting to know me personally, but I'm also getting to know you by the reactions and your experiences when it comes to my work. Okay. So you're talking about these needles kind of sticking out of this
Mhm.
arm. I did this. This is actually my son. He was born during COVID baby. And just as he grew up, all we were getting thrown at was vaccinations. Oh my God, I can't even say it. It was just all in my face, and I'm getting fired up about it. Even us to this day, you got to take this, you got to take this, or this is going to make you, what chemicals are we putting in our body? All that stuff. I wanted to do this, and the title of this piece is Pincushion. They just wanted to keep sticking us. I almost passed away with COVID. I got it actually at RIT when it first came out. And it was scary. We had no idea. I have 3 months. I gained 40 pounds, and I took 90 days worth of prednisone. We didn't know I was going to make it. It was a bumpy ride,
Oh
and then I
wow.
got it again. It was insane, and I had to do the antibody therapy that they ended up saying it never did anything or worked out. So, like, here I am worried about what's going in my body because I didn't want to, wake up and see, hey, that 1-800 commercial. Did you do this back in 2021? I was so afraid that I'm going to get some weird cancer or whatever, but everybody, big pharma, it's jab you with this, stick you with this, take this, do this now. Who are you going to believe? Because, if you can't get vaccinations right, there's so many medicines for these things that ail us, but I don't see a lot of cures coming out. So that's what scares me when I start sticking myself with this. So again, that's why that's a little bit behind that piece.
I see. Okay, wow.
Alrighty, so this is one of the first slides of one of our pieces. We're going to talk about Plague and Plague 2. All right. If you want to go to the next one. All right. So the one, okay, so it's on my left, the one that's more square like.
Mm,
That was originally done when, COVID was going on. I didn't want everything to be about COVID. I wanted to make it about like a broader spectrum, okay? A lot of my work, I like to draw out the first pages of a story, but I want you, my viewer, to finish those pages. So I don't want it to necessarily be everything about me. I want you to finish my work. So with this, hearing about the vaccinations, what does it take for us to get up in the morning and function as humans, to go out the door, go to work, come home, see our families, and go to bed? There's Tums, there's ibuprofens, there's heart medicines, there's liver medicines, there's alcohol, there's drugs, there's cigarettes, you name it, it's out there. What does it do to us? What does it leave behind? And in this, I actually took different medications. I cast them in cement. Some had no reaction to the cement. They made it through. That scares me. They didn't dissolve. There's water and cement, obviously. They were fine as if the day they were packaged. And others, you left these huge craters. Okay. So, the serendipity of how they laid and how they dissolved really, really responded with me. So, on the one, it was just me and my wife, Angela, at the time. It was medication she was taking and medication I was taking. Okay. So the updated concept, fast forward, we have little Nick. Yay. Our
mhm,
youngest of four. We made this person together. And now he's been diagnosed with SAD and GAD, severe separation anxiety, and generalized anxiety disorder. And there's more testing going on to see what else is going on with him. They want to put him on the same medication that his mother's on, because
mm,
Angela is dealing with depression and anxiety. So we thought it was appropriate. Me and Angela made this person, and now this person's here, and now you want to put him on medication at the age of 5 years old.
mm,
Are you really helping us, or are you trying to fill your pockets? So it's the same concept as plague, but now here's this twist. And again, it's the medications that are in there. I know we really can't zoom in on that one, but you'll see the actual pills. The medication for the anxiety kind of dissolved, but it didn't. And it's just very creepy what's left behind. And again, they want my son at this young age to start filling themselves with pills, which seems like the long run. You're already doing that to him instead of trying to figure out ways to help him in the meantime. So this hit home. It hit home very much.
mm. Yeah, good point. 5-year-old being on so many medication, like why? He's only a child.
Right. And right now, I feel like there's a pill for everything. Kind of like a t-shirt if you go on Amazon, or, a McDonald's at every street corner. Like, you kind of start really thinking. And again, it's not really about conspiracy theories per se, but here we are talking about this. It's real. My son is young, and he they want to put him on it. My daughter suffers with anxiety and depression. They have her on it. My wife's been on it since she was a teenager with all the issues that she had going through growing up and her traumatic experiences. And you just want to keep doing this. One day I woke up and I realized, I'm not 18 anymore. Years start adding up. Why are we still taking the same medicine over this long period of time that now it's stretching into my kid's lifetime and things really aren't better? So, I again, that provides them a little bit of power of their own, that they're not alone. You're not this thing that has something wrong with it. You're a person, and it just gets people talking. You make that connection. That's what I want you to do. Like, you connecting with that object, now you're connecting with people, because you can't tell me there's a person on this planet that doesn't know or is related to someone that suffers with something. So I want people to be able to talk and not be scared and not speak up and sit in the darkness thinking they're alone. Hey, listen, everybody's out there. Again, peace, very, very, very near and dear to me.
Mm, yeah. Wow, I'm thinking there's a lot to think about from this piece.
All right. Benefits who? Cast foam, mixed media. So, um, Robert Rauschenberg, he was an artist growing up that um, really got my attention, really inspired me with stuff. You got Keith Haring. He was another one with his bright colors and his simple designs and his symbolism. But man, packed a punch, right? This right here is another thing that really irks me when I'm talking to all my art friends or people in general. Benefits who? It's about Snap and the people that receive this benefit, okay? Um, I was at my gallery opening doing hours talk just like this, in a crowd full of people in the room. I had my nice leather coat on. My hair was all done nice, and nice shoes and everything. And everybody was excited to come see me. And I came to this piece, and they're like, "Nick, what's going on over here?" I go, "Oh, this is about food stamps and SNAP." And
Mm,
3/4 of the people were like, "Okay." Like, they kind of took a step back because, all right. I looked at him. I go, "Again, guys, 2 cents. I'm poor, right? I'm an adjunct professor. I am not working full time. It's hard. I have to pick up side jobs to make things meet. This is all about that. We're all on it, and we're good people. All the stigmatism that's all surrounded by benefits and food stamps is people are lazy. They buy candy, they eat lobster, and they're taking other people's money that they've never earned. I have been working since as early as I can remember, being able to get a job. I'm on them. I use them. And people were taken back like, wow, this somewhat put together guy, his family's on food stamp and he's standing in front of me right now. Yeah, I am. So what of it? It's amazing to me how nasty and immature and ignorant people can get by explaining this benefit that's there that we pay into that helps people. You want to call them trash and say they're lazy and they're just having a great time. Unacceptable. So if you look at this piece, it's colored like a food stamp card. It's light blue on the top.
mm,
There's a single yellow stripe going down the center.
mm,
And at the bottom, it's more of a charcoal. You got
mm,
skulls. You have kind of like an area in the middle where you see these feet coming out, kind of like John Doe or Jane Doe laid out on a table in a morgue. You have an adult male, adult female, and children's feet. You have an actual found phone, um, the old style with buttons, not cell phone, hanging down there, showing the disconnect. There's these feet that are going to step on you, and there's also footprints on there of people that have stepped on you. And this hand is reaching out at the top, dropping silverware for those of you trying to help people that are in my situation and way worse. But no one's listening to the big problem. Nobody's listening to the big picture. People in the United States and beyond are just trying to eat, and you're turning it into something, an agenda and games and laughing when it's not laughing. No one in 2025, as we go into 2026, should be worried about eating. And this one resonated with a lot of people. And it's massive. It is 48 by 60. And there's so many details. That's actually an American flag. Um, and if you could zoom in closer, I know we can't, but it's an American flag. And I put, there you go. Um,
Oh,
awesome stuff. And I know I did another detailed shot on the next page, but this really has the whole piece. You'll see there's silverware. Yeah, look at that. Now you can pick up the yellow color, the stripe, and the American flag. And this is all done in spray paint, clear coat. It's just the textures. So the actual feet that you see there, anybody looking at it going, hey, wait a minute, that's not a footprint. That's an actual bottom of a boot. So I cast those. And then the white is people that have stepped on you and they don't care who you are. They're on the skulls, they're on the feet, they're all the way down here, they're all over the place. They stepped on the phone because some people don't want to help. They don't think so. They want to eliminate the program because too many people. Now, do people abuse it? Absolutely. But I believe that there's a lot of abuse across a lot of areas. And, it just needs to be talked about. So that's why this piece I knew I had an exhibition coming up, and I was like, "Boom! I have to get this in there." So yeah, this again comes right here from the heart.
how long did it take you to make that one? Because it seems like a lot of details.
Oh, lots of details, but when you're really passionate about something, this one it flowed pretty good. I want to say I knew I had an idea about the feet stomping and the skulls and everything. And if you zoom closer, I actually those are pennies. You see on the sides of the canvas, if you want to go up in that top left corner, like above the
Oh,
phone,
here.
yeah, those are actual pennies that were discontinued, thrown away. There was a use for them, but now there's not a use for them. Kind of like people that are on food stamps. They're like, yeah,
Mhm.
it's this commodity. It's this thing. We don't want to deal with them. Ugh. So I thought it was very important to have those. And yeah, there's about 13 bucks and pennies on there. So there's a lot painstakingly detail that I had to go through and cut and get them to fit. So getting back to your original question, um, I had this idea for a while, but assembling it took me a few weeks at least trying to get it right because there's a whole hanging mechanism in the center of it that the feet are actually dangling off. If you go up and touch the things that I cast in foam, it bounces back like skin. And again, it's to get you uncomfortable. It's cold, like
Mhm.
a dead body. Um, and the way you could flex it like skin and touch it, I want that in your head thinking. I mean, was this person abusing it, or did they die hungry? Like, it's another part to really look at it. As much as I want to get it out there and be positive and destigmatize, sometimes you got to educate people with what's going on.
Wow.
All right, this one. So I had a smaller version of this set up at my show. Krista of the Wyoming Arts Council was awesome. She wanted to really get into the nitty gritty. And like you said in the beginning, um, yeah, your art is great. It catches your attention. It's chaotic. It's weird, but it's a good thing, right? This this is cast wax, but this is done in the bronze metal coating. So over the wax that I cast from a person goes a metal coating. It's a paint that has metal fibers in there. So when it's wet, I can mix it with a patina and clear coat it, and I can even buff it to make it look like the actual metal that I'm doing. So this sculpture, this one was based off my mom. My mother passed away in 2012. She had brain, liver, and kidney cancer, lung cancer as well. She smoked all her life, unfortunately. She passed away weighing 83 pounds, and unfortunately, Anybody that goes through cancer, sometimes it's a very long and dragged out, horrifying thing. Um, I got to see how she was just knocked around again in the system, never had any money. So she had state insurance, and she was kind of treated like a pincushion for this, that, and the other. And when she had her stroke that took her ability to talk in her final months, she had three strokes actually, but the final one, she was here, she was cognizant, but she lost the ability to talk and communicate. She couldn't speak and she couldn't write. If I wrote, I still have it to this day, I love you, Mom. I was hoping she would say, I love you, Nick. But she was only able to write, I love you, Mom, because it's what she could read. So she can understand the words that were coming out of people's mouths. But she was a prisoner in her own cell. I tell you this in the real vein of this whole thing. Um, she was supposed to come home. I was going to get a nurse. Everything was going to be okay. They were hoping with medicine everything would return to normal. But I got a phone call saying, nope, she had cancer and it exploded. That's why she had her final stroke, and it was just everywhere. She wasn't coming home. I was like, well, did you tell my mom or did you not? And they were like, no, we haven't said it to her yet. I asked them very nicely. I wanted one more day with my mom and my family before we told her she was going to die. There was no saving her. They gave her a month to live. And I came in the next day. I brought breakfast and everything, and I was waiting for people to come up to the hospital. I walk into the room, she's crying, and I knew right then what happened. And lo and behold, I went to the front counter. Well, wait, I'm getting emotional with this. I went up to my mom, which was sobbing. I'm like, Mom, what's wrong? And she just crying, and she grabbed me and held me. Right then, I knew what they did. So, any normal person, I think, would feel a little bit of rage and a little bit of anger and sadness all at once. I went out and I went right to the counter. I was like, what did you guys do? And the one nurse that was really good, not going to name names with anything in here, she said the doctor had an early vacation the weekend. He wanted to get out of there. So he went in there earlier than me and told her, he made his rounds, said she was going to die, and then left so he could go play golf. And
Hmm.
that to me just, it still resonates with me because I'm like, how could you do that to someone that had no capability of getting out what they need to get out and letting them sit there hours before their family made it back, made it there to be able to try to even talk to them? So after hearing that, Mom did end up eventually going to the Caramel House in Rochester, New York, and she passed away. Um, I just, it was another example of like an assembly line, and that's why I call it this. Every person that I'd cast in here has an issue that has been dealt with in a way where they were kind of cast aside. Mom, they treated her like a car. What happens to a car if the transmission breaks? Get a part, fix it, get them out of here. Oh, wait a minute, they don't make that part anymore? Throw the cart out, total it out. That's what they did to her. But this took a decade of her being in and out of hospitals, trying things, having her do stuff, not doing tests because they weren't covered. Um, Kind of like that cat and mouse game, being bad around like a ball of yarn per se. That I know other people that have loved ones in a situation where they couldn't afford good insurance just get the runaround. And I had to watch this and experience this. And my wife was there, only met Mom for 3 months, but she, in that short window, saw what I was going through with, the medical world and people trying to help. And again, I'm just going to go there and be an advocate for nurses. They need to make more because they're the real heroes out there, making sure my mom, I, Shore wins. We got a phone call one night. She fell out of bed. She broke her wrist because no one was paying attention, and they thought they weren't going to let me get her out of that situation. I was able to get her moved to Monroe Community Hospital, a little bit better situation for her, but just it's crazy. I could be here all night telling you stories of some of the crazy that went on there. So with that, there was so many instances down the road where they just treated her like a part and they didn't care if she died. She didn't care if they didn't care if she lived, because there's another one waiting behind her that needs work to be done. So here, um, just to give you an idea, the one second to the right, um, he was a person that worked at RIT. He was doing cutting. He was almost ready to retire. Students came in at the end of the day. He misjudged, saw blade, took his fingers right off. Um, Best guy you'll ever talk to. He's amazing. I only don't say his name because I want to be respectful to him, but I talked to him while I was casting him. Again, it's that human relation. It's that story that this art brings to me from my person that I cast. It's this relationship we form. I don't know you, you don't know me, but we're going to get to know a lot about each other. And he is just one of the happiest go lucky guys. I mean, at the same time, he told me about the dark days because he woke up one day and went home without fingers on his hand, and he's a tradesman. He needed that. So, are there bad days? Absolutely. But all he wanted to do, like me, is just help others. And to this day, he still smiles. I still talk to him, and he has a great outlook on things. So, that just, but again, I mean, here we go. There's that. Um, if you want to go to the next one, I believe, yeah, there another detail. This is when I started finding out that's actually Little Nick's hand. He was 3, and I was able to cast him. This is when they wanted to start pumping him full of medicine, and no, it's striking because it's a child. I'm sure there's people that are in far worse situations with their children, where they just want to pump them full of whatever to get the bill run up, and then if they live, they live. If they don't, they don't. So I have that whole row of arms going down there, and on the other wall, like right over here, we had Nick's setup. Just so once you get done looking at these, you end with his, and that's real saline solution. And because it may be coated in metal, it's not that the hand is wax. I learned how to take the needle and stick it in there, so it made kind of sense. And that's actual medical tape to hold it into place, to give you this, to give cold metal a feeling of being human. I really thought that was important to me as well. You got this liquid obviously going into a statue, but yeah. And then this, it's on a smaller scale, obviously, because you guys at this point, you saw the whole gallery. This is a scaled back version of it, but again, with the bags and the different hands. I'm an asthmatic. I'm that big mitt in the center right there. Um, I thought it was a nice play on things having my arm and my son's arm is over here going through the same thing. And I hope he doesn't have the same kind of experience when he grows up with me. Um, let's see, I'm trying to just look at the hands. I believe the one all the way on the right there on the other side of Little Nick's. She was a client of my wife's. My wife's a photographer. She was involved in a car accident where a drunk driver hit her and her 2 small children head on and broke every bone in her body. She didn't know if she was going to make it. She was in the hospital. We drove up and saw her. We took photos of her 2 sons, which I still love them to this day. They're amazing. Um, her arm is twisted and contorted. That's not her in a position. That's her arm now after the accident. And unfortunately, the bastard that hit her had no car insurance and nothing. So she couldn't even
Oh,
get help. She couldn't even get help for anything. She was on her own. And yes, we did set up like a food train for her and everything else, but she's going to be dealing with this the rest of her life. And her kids, they were young. Luckily, one was in a car seat and they were both in car seats, or they would have went through the windshield. The cops, when they opened the door, she was unconscious, and they pulled it out. And the oldest one, he still remembers mommy the way she looked. So again, happy go lucky family, great family. Mom loves her kids to death. Boom. Taken out by someone not caring, no insurance, and, going through that kind of situation. So,
Well,
Alrighty, and I just wanted to. That was us walking through my gallery show. Well, the little tidbits. This is one where you actually um, you could sit down with this one. There's a chair. I think it was the first slide I have of actually my daughter and my son watching these faces. I got it so they all change color. A lot of installations, artists don't want you to touch anything. This is one where I want you to sit down and actually enjoy. And there's like a little bowl of candy on top. But yeah, that's a little bit of my world.
thank you for so much for sharing and being so like vulnerable with your it's pretty much your like your story, your family story. So it's definitely, like I said, weirdly uncomfortable, but there's a statement. So it just it left quite an impression. That's how I'm gonna put it. It left an impression on me. It left an impression on like why you were kind of showcasing the way they are. So it's definitely something that people I think want to go back and like think about these pieces because it does left a great impression.
Well, and I think impression is a great word. Casting. I'm literally taking your face, casting it, and then I can make multiples. So, um, impression is perfect. If I can sum that up, I think that's great because these are all cast and imprints on these people's lives. It's not just mine, but it's also, these people that I get to talk to and relate to. So, um, yeah.
I guess my final question kind of would be, what do you imagine the future for you as an artist and also as a professor?
Well, obviously, I would love to, get locked down somewhere. Hopefully, that's in the future. I love my students, and any students watching this right now, see, you just got to keep working hard, and good things do happen. And networking is important. The way that you and I met, it was a great day, and just to be able to talk to you, you got a great story yourself. That was amazing, and again, there's a lot of bad. I talk a lot of bad in my art, but again, it's to destigmatize that. You it is uncomfortable, and you guys will probably replay this over and over again. And I ramble, and my points are all over the place. I know exactly what I'm going to say, but do you see how the emotion, no matter how old you are or how far removed you are from the situation, it takes you back to that moment, and that moment is what my art is. I want you guys to be a part of that and then relate to that. Yes, that was my mom in that one, or my son, or my wife in the other, or my wife's client's arm. But do you have someone that was in a car accident? Do you have someone that, is addicted to drugs? Do you have someone that is going through financial troubles? Um, I want to keep showing my stuff. I want to get big, obviously. I'm an underdog. Um, I come from a place where people told me growing up I wasn't going to amount to anything because my mom was a single mom of 3 kids and we're garbage. And we lived in the city. Again, hey, Rochester. I was born in California, but I was raised here right in Rochester. So I'm homegrown. Got my BFA out of Brockport. I got my MFA from RIT. So I just hope that I could show my students, my audience, my friends, you can do it. You just got to keep moving forward. So I hope to show more, so I can talk to more people about this and bring more attention to some of these issues. Mental health is huge out there, and I think we all need help with that. But I also know that there's a lot of these other issues. Some of my art is funny, and I poke at things like the president sometimes, or the TV thing. It's cute with the colors, but every single thing has a situation where it's hard to talk about. And that's what we did today. And I hope that resonates with people and they connect and they see that.
Yeah, thank you. I think they will. And thank you so much for sharing. Definitely left quite an impression on me, like I've said before. So I think either your audience or students would really appreciate how open you are and how vulnerable you are by telling these stories. And these are important issues that we should discuss. So thank you so much for sharing with us.
Absolutely. And as an artist, sometimes you don't need to talk. You can speak through your art. So if you're not a big talker, which it's crazy to say, I'm not a big talker, but do it through your art. people will listen and people will see. And even if you're small time right now, doesn't mean someone down the line isn't going to see it, and it's not going to be talked. It will be talked about. It will be seen. So I just want to thank everybody around me, my wife for dealing with all the crazy and all the body parts around the house, my kids seeing all the crazy, people like you listening to my story. I appreciate that, but it just makes me happy because I know other people that are sitting out there. Yeah, I'm going through some stuff, but I'm right here. I'm doing art. I'm creating art for you. I could be in way worse situations. So if they're out there right now struggling with something, I just want them to know there's people out there to talk. And when I did my show, I talked to a bunch of people, and the tears that flowed a little bit and the laughs that we had, that's what it's about. Everything else will fall in line. So thank you again.